Welcome in live from Titans training camp on 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising hanging out here with you at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Buccaneers and Titans out on the field for joint training camp practices, and we are hanging out with you for the next 3 hours. We're happy to have you. Taylor Lewan is going to be on the show at about 11:15, so we'll hang out. I'm sure that's going to go well. You think that's going to go smoothly?
Why wouldn't it?
There's great many reasons why that may not go. why that may not necessarily be smooth.
Hand over the dump button, please, Brett. Whenever that comes around.
Yeah,
I'll be ready.
That's got to stress both of you out.
Oh, I'm good. It's not on me anymore.
How do you feel about that, Brett Batchelor, back in the studio?
I'm prepared. I'm ready for it.
Be prepared. Kirby, if you wouldn't mind turning me up just a tad in my ear. Thank you, buddy. Kirby Allen Kirby's out here. We are excited to be doing the show out here today. Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, will also come over and give us some practice observations as we kind of see who rebounds, who stands out in day 2 of these joint training camp practices. If you want to jump in on the show, you are more than welcome to do so. 615-737-1045 is the number, 615-737-1045. What are you looking forward to most? What matchups are you most interested in seeing, as it looks like we're getting ready for another round of 11-on-11 work between the Titans' first-team offense and Bucs' first-team defense? Lucas and I kind of split it up a little bit this morning to go watch some individual work, but we both ended up at the same place watching running backs for the Titans and linebackers for the Buccaneers in pass protection this morning, bud.
Yeah, a little bit of tight end work in there, matched up with linebackers. Devin White was beat on a play by, I believe it was Chigakonkwo, and got chewed out a little bit by his linebackers coach. I believe that's who that was, standing behind that drill, barking at Tampa Bay linebackers. But Malik Willis getting some work in, zipping some short-range balls into the end zone, and Hassan Haskins got a few good reps in. And interesting to see Derrick Henry. I think that was the first time we've seen him get any work against somebody in
another color jersey.
Yeah, getting some blocking work in on that drill.
Yeah, so that, I don't expect Derrick to do too tremendously much. All right, we got 7-on-7 as opposed to 11-on-11 as Tannehill hits NWI in the back of the end zone. I couldn't tell. 26 in coverage. Logan Ryan.
Yeah, that's Logan Ryan.
Okay, so did you see the Logan Ryan play?
Yeah, I have seen it now. A to Z Sports got the video of it. Kyle Phillips put him on skates a little bit.
It was so I admittedly I forgot Logan was on the Buccaneers yesterday. He's had 2 different stops since he left the Titans at this point, and he's playing safety now here or for Tampa Bay. He got left on an island with Kyle Phillips, who again against linebackers.
Oh, here's Burks in the end zone. Just caught a ball from Tannehill.
Flag on the play. I couldn't see if it was a little bit of defensive pass interference, it looked like, or a push-off on Burks, because obviously that's the thing that they're going to be working on him with a great deal. But Treylon Burks participating in 7-on-7. He did not go through the one-on-one drills earlier, and he did not do individual work, but did warm up with the team. So it looks like it's going to be he's going to appear in spurts throughout the course of the Titans practice day, and we'll be able to track how much he has or has not done throughout the course of the show. I just got a text from Brett Batchelor that said the CBS music is ready for y'all when you want it. So go ahead and hit the music, and let's do a little trolling this morning. Ah, yes. It's no longer the SEC game of the week that this music introduces. Lucas, I've never seen you quite this triggered this morning for the announcement of a new media rights deal between CBS, NBC, Fox, and the Big Ten. What are the reported details on this that you brought us?
Through gritted teeth, I say that the Big Ten has landed a historic media rights deal less than 2 months after adding USC and UCLA. Fox, CBS, NBC, Peacock, FS1, 7 years, starting July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2030, and sources saying it is worth between $7 billion and $8 billion. So that's about $1 billion per year. Now the caveat, the contract includes an escalator clause, according to Brett McMurphy, meaning the deal could approach nearly $10 billion if the Big Ten's membership increases, so allowing some wiggle room there for further expansion, which the Big Ten still wants to do.
It makes me think of the Dr. Evil line, $10 billion. He puts his pinky finger up by his mouth.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, this is supervillain money.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Northwestern and Rutgers running out of the tunnel of that music on a 2:30 kickoff?
Yeah, Lucas, why don't you give people your thoughts? Because I almost want to just cede the floor to you this morning, because we were going to look at some different things to open the show, and obviously there's a great deal of offensive line discussion that we're going to have, given that Lawan's on the show later this afternoon. But why don't I just let you have a moment, decompress? The microphone is yours. Why don't you tell people how you're feeling right now?
Well, first of all, how dare they? I saw that on Twitter today, and CBS goes ahead. The official CBS account says, "Hello, Big Ten," something stupid to that nature, and plays the theme music with a compilation of Big Ten highlights, fan shots at an Iowa game, Rutgers, Northwestern. It's not right. And the worst part is the SEC is on CBS for 2 more years.
Yep.
So we have to sit through and watch that theme with Alabama and Tennessee, or with Georgia and Florida and Jacksonville, and we're not going to get to enjoy it as much because we know it's going to be sullied by Big Ten games in a few years.
What that doesn't hit is
Wah.
Shut up, Kirby.
I hear a bunch of sour grapes by somebody who's been spoon-fed the SEC on every available
This is coming
outlet
from a Big
in
Ten fan,
America.
Kirby. You're a Big
Yeah,
Ten fan, Kirby.
an Ohio native has infiltrated the show. But on a serious note, when you look comparatively at the deal right now that the Big Ten has, Fox, NBC, CBS, 7 years, $8.8 billion total, an average annual value of $1.1 billion. The SEC, with the deal starting in 2024 with ESPN, expires in 2034, 10 years, a total of $3 billion, an average value of $300 million.
That's so good. It's so good. And listen, now you know why UCLA and USC made the decision that they did. This has almost single-handedly saved UCLA athletics across the board, as you well know. Brett, hit the music again. I want to get Lucas hyped for an upcoming in 2 years Big Ten matchup. Give me the CBS music.
It's the audacity.
You are looking live at the CBS broadcast on a Saturday, a big college football Saturday for Illinois versus Northwestern.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. Yeah, can't wait for that rematch of Penn State-Illinois for another 9 overtimes where both teams can't convert a damn 2-point conversion for 7 straight series.
How about a little bit of Indiana-Rutgers? Does that do anything for you?
Oh, yeah, all 12,000 fans in Indiana Stadium are going to be hyped up for the Big Ten on CBS.
What about Wisconsin with 9 points total in the entire game?
No, Wisconsin you'll live with because at least they play high-level football.
Fair.
But, yeah, that group of 12,000 Indiana shirtless fans jumping around to the CBS music, it's just
I don't know what's worse.
Chef's kiss.
Like a mediocre, low-level Big Ten matchup or Ohio State-Michigan with the SEC on CBS theme. I don't know what will feel worse, although Ohio State-Michigan will probably always get that noon kickoff. Fox will get that early slate, and that's going to be the quote-unquote A game for the Big Ten once this deal starts to take place. But it's just wrong, and the worst part is it's not even going to be their best game, right? Like the SEC, that 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central game on CBS is the game of the weekend. Well, for the Big Ten, that's going to be the early one, the 11 a.m. noon kickoff on Fox with Gus Johnson screaming at you through his TV, and then you're going to flip to Northwestern Iowa for the Big Ten on CBS game. It's a disgrace. It's a travesty.
All right, settle down. That was, I think, I gave you almost 6 minutes there. Do you feel better?
I feel better, but it's all going to come back to me when I watch that first SEC on CBS game this year.
Well, you got 2 more years to work it out and to, talk about it with your therapist and everything else that you need in between. It's just not fair. Damn it. 615-737-1045 is how you can jump in. It's just an outrageous amount of money. I mean, and it's going to continue to go up. It's the contract. The contract is the richest ever for a college athletic conference and the latest landmark, basically, in this era where surging value of live sports rights is going to continue to trump everything in entertainment. Whether you are looking at, it is going to be football, and more football, and then occasionally you'll make some money on a basketball game here and there. But for the purposes of the television rights, this thing has completely ballooned to the point where you are now seeing a $7.5 billion deal at minimum.
Think about that. $1 billion per year for the conference. In the last 5 years of the deal, every Big Ten school will get $100 million in TV money. I mean, it is mind-boggling. We thought the SEC deal with ESPN was massive. It was a market setter.
Well, and that's what I was just looking at, because I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning.
It's
They're
pennies.
reporting on this because now you got the Wall Street Journal involved in sports because of the size of the deals that are getting done. The SEC, basically, they did something. So this was last year when they added Oklahoma and Texas for the 2025 season. In 2024, the SEC's new deal with Disney and ESPN takes effect. The conference will generate more than $800 million annually in media rights, according to the reporting there. So think about just the jump in a year from $800 million to $1 billion. $1 billion, basically overnight. It is an insane amount of monopoly money, and it's just going to continue to rise. That's what, I know college football purists get bent out of shape about this, and I understand. The thing that makes college football so cool is the traditions that institutions have, the fact that it's embedded in a lot of families going back generations and generations, whether it's season tickets or just the simple idea of attending a game with your family and continuing to pass on that tradition, and frankly, it just being it making geographical sense, because now it obviously does not. But I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Amazon and Apple to get in on the college football money, the live stream or the live rights money, because it's going to go from $1 billion a year to $2 billion a year in an instant. Because $2 billion is a drop in a bucket for a company like Apple. They're just throwing money at MLS right now because they can.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I'm going to watch USC play Michigan in the Big Ten. I watch Big Ten football, but it's just an aesthetic thing. It's going to anger me incessantly.
Kirby's just throwing his hands up in the air. I know, it's just entitlement, Kirby. There's nothing we can do with it.
Oh, stop it!
It's just pure entitlement at this point.
Stop it.
Well, I mean, basically, let's do a live comparison here. All right, you're ripping Iowa and Maryland. Okay, what about Vanderbilt in a bad Kentucky game on 11 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Who the hell wants to watch that?
Well, they banish it to the SEC network.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
never the.
It's
Vanderbilt
never the case.
almost never gets
okay,
that.
or,
never the problem.
South Carolina and a bad Arkansas year when they're off. I mean, it's not like you've got 27 Alabama teams in the SEC. You've got 4.
But there's only one that's going to appear on that CBS game,
right.
Kirby. The rest of them are basically going to
that
get relegated.
slate is sacred. That slate is
that's
Georgia,
what the Big
Florida,
Ten network
Alabama,
is there.
Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the biggest rivalries. No, the Big Ten, the biggest game of the weekend will be that Fox game, that first game with Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt
as it
at
should
noon.
be.
Right, which is what I'm saying. That BC game is going to be the 3:30
I
game.
understand all the demographics. I'm just saying.
Kirby's just tired of your
All is right in the world now. So sit down, young man.
Not an Ohio State Buckeye, Kirby Allen Kirby. All right, so we are live from Titans training camp.
I'm going home.
Yeah. All right, we'll see if Lucas can, calm down from his hissy in the commercial break. What we're going to talk about coming up next, Ryan Tannehill and his connection with Austin Hooper. It's been one of the most crisp things that we've seen consistently at practice. You're going to hear from the quarterback on that. He spoke yesterday to the media. Stick around. Live from training camp. It's 104.5 The Zone. From Nashville to Knoxville and all around the country, Superbook Sports is your place to wager this football season. You don't need to be at the game to enjoy football this fall. Download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com and start placing your bets now. They've got lines up for every pro football game for the rest of the season. Plus, you can bet which team will win the title, who your MVP is, and who will surprise in the SEC. You can wager on football and every other major sport with Superbook Sports. So bring Vegas to the palm of your hand, and Superbook will match 100% of your first bet up to $1,000, no matter if the bet wins or loses. Get in the action right now with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
That's voice of the Titans, Mike Keith, on the call of a Ryan Tannehill touchdown run from, I assume, last season. Brett, what game was that from?
The Buffalo Bills game.
The Buffalo Bills game, an exciting game on Monday Night Football.
As Tannehill throws another touchdown pass to Dontrell Hilliard.
Buddy, these quarterbacks have been out here getting after this Tampa Bay defense. Do you see that ball Willis fit in there to Chigakonkwo?
That was one of the best balls we've seen from him in team drills all camp.
So they had it was a designed run for Willis to go to the left of the formation, and he scrambled in, but it got called back on a holding penalty. You said the hold looked like it was on Mason Kinsey?
Yeah, I saw a 1-2 pop up, and Kinsey was in the huddle.
Okay, so at that point, on the very next play, Malik Willis comes back and hits Chig in a really, really tight window in the back of the end zone for the touchdown pass, and now Ryan Tannehill and their group of offensive players has just wrapped up their work as Logan Woodside gets ready to take the snap.
Worth mentioning, Tannehill had one of his worst reads of joint practices so far, tried to fit it into a double coverage window to NWI in the end zone, and it should have been picked off.
Hit the DB right in the hands. Cody Hollister for 6 from Logan Woodside. With the, I don't know, are we calling it the third team offense now?
Spicy.
I think so. But what we want to talk about here before we get into some offensive line previewing, also we have Titans tickets to give away today. I got tickets to Saturday's preseason game, a pair of them that we are going to give to a caller at some point today. So make sure that you're listening. In the 11 o'clock hour, maybe Lawan will be on the air with us.
Yeah, please don't spam the phone line right now. The tickets are not being given away right now.
Who are you talking to? Wait,
everybody.
What, you just make it? You don't get to make demands on this.
You just said, but you said we're not doing the tickets away right now because last week, last week you said, hey, 12:20, we're giving something away. It was like 10:30, and I got like 5 calls. We're not giving away the tickets yet.
Yeah, no, people, sometimes people are bad listeners. That's okay. We'll get through it. Yes, don't. Okay, Brett, if you want somebody to be strident, because if there's going to be a likability problem on this show, it is my burden to bear. So if you want to yell at people, you need to do it through me so you can be the likable one. It's a formula that works very successfully.
Completely understood.
For Lucas over the last year and a half. That's just kind of – everybody knows their role. It's like a good offense. You got to have your parts in place. But anyway, let's talk about the quarterback in particular. Ryan Tannehill was asked about Austin Hooper yesterday and the chemistry and connection that they've continued to build. I want you to hear from the Titans quarterback when he met with the media. Now that was Ryan Tannehill. Speaking with the media yesterday about Austin Hooper. So for him and Hooper, that has probably been the thing, and I think I said this yesterday, that's the thing that I feel the most concrete about. Like Ryan Tannehill and the connection with the tight ends, how it comes along with Chig, Jeff Swaim he's been working with now for a couple of years. They have an understanding, and I like Jeff Swaim infinitely better as a 3 than I do as a 1. Oh, look at that, Ramon and Slayer here, late to practice. Slackers, the both of them. Yeah, we'll go. Maybe there's a lot of people out here today. Nate Washington, Mark Mariani. We're going to have a lot of friends come visit throughout the course of the show today. But I think that as you look for that thing to grow and develop, and basically what you're looking from them offensively early on, things to get the quarterback in rhythm. What did we see yesterday on the 2-minute drill with Tannehill and Hooper? 3 straight completions to Austin Hooper to continue to get the offense going, and then once they had the opportunities, they started to spread the ball around a little more. Hooper is not somebody who is going to be overly explosive, but he's big, he's physical, he has the body in the red zone to be able to make him an easy target if all you got to do is box out at that point. Made him hugely successful in Atlanta, less so in Cleveland. But they're not Chig in the same way. It's not yards after the catch type of stuff that you're looking for. It's not explosive plays. It's those essential yards, those easy completions. And my hope is that it encourages them to throw the ball on first down more, which is the easiest down to throw. If you can get Austin Hooper for 6 or 7 yards at a time as opposed to running Derek into a nose tackle for 1 or 2 or maybe a loss, like that would do so much for the efficiency of this group as they try and look to kind of rebound and course correct from what they were a year ago.
So Hooper might be poised to have his best year as far as production in 3 years. Last season with the Browns, played 16 games, 38 catches, 345 yards, 3 scores in the previous year with the Browns, 2020, 435 yards, average 9.5 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns, and that was coming off of a nearly 800-yard season in his final year in Atlanta.
So it is, I mean, the numbers were good, and they got him paid. And that, listen, if Austin Hooper does well here, it could be a similar situation. He's on one of those prove-it deals. A lot of tight ends around the league got that kind of a contract this year. But for Hooper, it's a great opportunity for him to capitalize because he's only like 27 or 28, right?
And he was out there for a while this offseason. I mean, remember the first time he spoke to the media, what was it about the Titans? What was the face? Like, well, there was an offer. So,
yeah.
And so I took it. And, they offered me money to play football. So
it's
kind of what happened.
So I think that's very relatable, as a matter of fact.
That's probably true more often than not in the NFL, but players just won't say that in a press conference, right? Like, it's the scheme and the coaches, and it's a great culture. Most of the time, it's, no, they offered me, and I want a job.
Honestly, it's one of my biggest frustrations in sports, the way that I think it is romanticized, the idea that, players want to play for this team or that team, or they're given, that they are as invested as the fan base is. And I understand why people feel that way, but of course not. Like, this is their job. You go to the place that's going to give you, one, the best opportunity to succeed, and also is going to compensate you justly. Those are the kind of things that go into a decision for so many NFL free agents, especially at that stage in your career where you're kind of like in between. You're young enough to where you're definitely worth a contract, and your contract is likely to come your way, but you've dealt with a couple of different things and a quarterback with a bum arm last year, and it's really, really hurt your production and, frankly, your perception. The perception of you as a player and the kind of film that you put out. Because it's real easy for your body language to get bad when Baker Mayfield just completely overshoots you or throws it at your ankles.
So we put it to a poll at Buck Reising on Twitter. An interesting question. Who has more catches for the Titans in 2022? Early on, 61% say Austin Hooper over Treylon Burks.
That is interesting. Austin Hooper over Treylon Burks. Well, I would say that. I would agree with that by volume. Now we have our first training camp fight, it would seem, at midfield over there on the third field.
Yeah, we do not have a good view over there. Yeah, it's a second. I did see there was another scuffle. Ben Arthur of the Tennessean reported it that Jordan Ruse of the Titans, a depth piece on the offensive line, got into it with a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Patrick O'Connor. A brief scuffle where Ruse's helmet flew off, and it was broken up very quickly.
That's not something that they need. I was just talking to somebody with their PR staff about, it's been a very calm camp. Because I'm watching videos coming out of the Patriots and the Panthers just beating just beating the holy hell out of each other.
Oh, Brett, do we have the no fighting audio?
It was too soon.
That's Mike Vrabel to the Titans before practice today.
That, of course, is famously from Peaky Blinders. No fighting, no effing fighting, no fighting, and then everybody fights.
Jeffrey Simmons, the most likely after yesterday. The only brush up was between Simmons and I think a director of player personnel or something for the Bucs that apparently threw a football at him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone threw a football at Jeffrey. He kind of brushed into someone and the guy threw a football at him and Simmons got mad. That's as close as it got yesterday, but today I guess we've had a little bit of pushing.
All right, so Tehran is reporting that Luke, is it Gedke? I don't know how to properly pronounce that last name, but Luke something, and Jeff Simmons just got into it. Simmons got caught in a pile. It's Goedke, however that's pronounced. That guy landed on top of Jeff. He didn't like it. Mike Vrabel came in to break it up because, of course, Mike is going to break it up because he's bigger than half the guys out there.
The Panthers-Pat situation was messy.
It's wild.
That's like worst case for a head coach.
Yeah, well, no, that's right because I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I can't remember who it was, but basically, like, they're doing this in New England. And one of the Patriots' defensive linemen got, like, tossed into the stands and rolled up on a fan. Now, I think they gave the woman tickets to a regular season game.
Yep.
You know, they're going to take care of her.
They offered her medical care. She said no. She's had like a swollen foot, but it stemmed from a late hit on McCaffrey. And then McCaffrey gets up and spikes Dietrich Wise, the former Arkansas star, plays for the Patriots. McCaffrey gets up and spikes the ball at his feet after the late hit, and then not a brawl, but, you know, big old pile ensued and went into the fans.
So that's the kind of stuff that you're obviously avoiding as Randy Bullock. He's not actually taking the attempt.
No, Brett Kern is holding, though.
So, okay, that's the kind of stuff, and we're going to set expectations more tomorrow. Like, you know, we have a baseline for a lot of guys that played in the preseason last Thursday, a week ago from today. And tomorrow what we're going to get into in more detail is kind of, all right, we have a baseline. What is the next step for player X, Y, and Z, for Malik Willis, for Rashad Weaver, for these guys who are, you know, obviously going to play roles in this for this football team in some form or fashion, but still are in the stage of their career where they're having to show that they're capable of doing so. Basically, a progress report is what we're going to get into in greater detail. But more, I mean, specifically today, we're going to focus on the offensive line. I do want to read this tweet from Ben Arthur earlier, because apparently Logan Ryan is not having the greatest of days out here on the field. He got put in a spin cycle by Kyle Phillips earlier, and apparently got trucked by
Haskins,
Hassan Haskins, the rookie running back.
Yeah, apparently that sent the Titans sideline into a frenzy.
Oh, so that's what started it. Okay.
Oh, I don't know if that's what started any scuffle,
but that's
I'm just saying, Titans players got pretty hyped seeing Hassan Haskins truck Logan Ryan.
You're talking, well, understandably so. That's well, a bad day for a veteran to get got by two rookies in that kind of a circumstance. I have a lot of questions about that Bucs defensive group, just the way that it's changed around. Levante David's still a stud. Devin White is just such a freakishly gifted athlete that even some of the miscues that he's had, I know he had a bit of a down year in 2021, but he just makes so many plays for them. But their secondary and what they have as far as their rush now is concerned.
Yeah, which is a huge part of what won them the Super Bowl.
Oh, of course. Of course. The ability to get pressure is critical for any football team, especially a football team that's got Tom Brady on the other side of things.
Speaking of which, have you noticed Shaq Barrett at all? Is he out here this week?
Shaq Barrett is 58?
Yes.
I've not noticed Shaq Barrett out here. But in full – well, I mean, we haven't seen him, though, because I saw 98 earlier in the position that Shaq Barrett typically plays in. Maybe we look at Jenna Lane's Twitter timeline about who traveled and who did not to kind of refresh ourselves on the Buccaneers situation, because I know there's a lot of guys that are here that aren't practicing and a lot of guys that just flat didn't make the trip.
Yeah.
But rebounds today, who are we looking for? 615-737-1045, because I've got the first nominee.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably would have the same one, right? It's probably the obvious pick, so why don't you go ahead?
What are you saying, that I'm obvious?
Well, no. I mean, I think there's one that stands out more than others. There's one that I won't say was called out by Mike Vrabel because he was asked about him, but one that needs to have a better day than most for the Titans.
Caleb Farley. I would like to see Caleb Farley have a better day in day 2 than in day 1 of these joint training camp practices. He got by a variety of different wide receivers yesterday. One-on-one drills are obviously not ideal for the defensive back. We talked to Jason McCourty, in fact, yesterday about what it is that, and in fact, I'm going to DM Brett that audio because I thought it was really good. Basically what he's looking for the defensive backs, or from the defensive backs, in those one-on-one drills specifically.
Mickey Ryan did tweet out a clip of Farley getting the better of Julio in one of those drills today, which did not happen yesterday.
Is it fair to say that Julio Jones has been the best wide receiver for the Bucs that we've seen out here?
Oh, absolutely. Well, he's been one of the only ones. I mean, you have Scotty Miller out there. I had forgotten that Jareth Stearns, the stud receiver out of Western Kentucky, who had ridiculous numbers last year, is a UDFA on this team. And in a lot of camps, he might be making a roster, but the Bucs have so many receivers, they're just not out here. Julio's the only one. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Russell Gage. So, yeah, and Rick Stroud joined Blaine and Mickey yesterday, and they asked him about Julio's camp in Tampa, and the first word out of his mouth was phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was just so much praise for Julio Jones, and he's looked like Julio Jones, and he might have gotten more reps on this field yesterday than he did at any point for the Titans in training camp last year.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, you'll remember, like, he made a play in this end zone back here last year during training camp where he went up for a 50-50 ball, brought it down, but came down really hard. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they basically bubble-wrapped him for the rest of training camp. Mm-hmm. He traveled to Tampa Bay last year. Him and A.J. both. Neither of them practiced against the Bucs. So you're looking at a situation where now Julio Jones looks like he's playing higher-level football than he was a year ago for the Tennessee Titans to the benefit of Tampa Bay. Going back to the Farley train of thought, though, I want you to hear from Jason McCourty, former Titans defensive back who now hosts Good Morning Football. He was on the radio show yesterday, and I asked him, when you're watching these one-on-one drills that all of us vultures tweet out during training camp, what are you looking for specifically from the DB? This was J-Mac.
For me, when I'm watching, I want to see a guy's hand placement and press technique and how he moves his feet, whether he wins the route as far as whether –
don't fade it down yet, Brett.
Ball or not. Yeah, it's important. You want to see finish. But specifically in that drill, I want to see what a guy's line of scrimmage technique looks like.
We just saw a nice example. This is Jason McCourty, former Titans corner, now working for Good Morning Football, on the line with us yesterday, talking about what he's looking for the defensive backs in those one-on-ones. And I thought it was really interesting to hear him talk about, just working on press coverage in those specific situations. Obviously, there are going to be reps where you get beat and reps that you're going to have the ability to make plays. But at this point, the situation for Caleb Farley is so far it's been a bit improved. So we'll keep you updated on that throughout the course of the show. We're going to talk about a situation that's going on with one MVP, one multi-time MVP candidate for an NFL team who is absolutely running his wide receivers through the ringer. The audio is hilarious. You're going to hear it coming up next. If you did not know that getting your testosterone checked should be a part of your annual men's healthcare routine, that is something that a lot of people don't know until you talk to the people at Tennessee Men's Clinic. They're the best in the business because they are reinventing men's healthcare and specializing in prioritizing your health. It's never been more important, as you well know. If you've been feeling tired and grumpy, you've noticed weight gain or a loss of muscle mass, you've had a decrease in sex drive, and you just feel like you're run down, you need to get your T levels checked at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. It's only $99 for a testosterone and PSA test, and in about an hour, you'll know your numbers. I did this. It was a very simple process just because I went in to meet with their staff and kind of understand a little bit more about how it can affect so many different parts of your life. I was really interested to learn what my numbers had to say, and I think you will be as well. So give them a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Football.
Brett, what are you doing? What are you doing
It's
today?
football season, Buck.
Okay,
It's
so
football season. Just imagine 69,000 people cheering on the Titans as they run out of the tunnel to this song.
oh goodness. Well, Titans have a home game on Saturday.
There
We got
you
a pair of tickets to give away on the show a little later on at 11:20 to be specific. So be listening at 11:20 for your chance to win some Titans tickets for Saturday's preseason game. Welcome back live from Titans training camp as we broadcast live here. It looks like we've got Bucs ones on offense against the Titans ones on defense as Caleb Farley just made an interception.
Hard to
Think
tell.
so. He just, whoever it was, he went up and got it, man. That was a beautiful play. I can't see who they're dapping
There will
up.
be an onslaught of tweets momentarily.
We will see tweets shortly. It looked the arms looked long. I don't even know if he's out on the field right now, as a matter of fact. Let me know as soon as you see who made the play.
Little bit of news. Multiple reports saying that there will be news on Deshaun Watson's situation today.
Okay.
So something to monitor.
So we will keep you updated as new information becomes available on the appeal process for Deshaun Watson.
It was Farley, by the way.
It was Caleb Farley that made the interception on the play, the kind of things that you like to see in a bounce-back day. So Malik Willis currently on the field right now would have been absolutely sacked if that had been real pressure, but a pass completed to Reising McMath over the middle nonetheless. Now, there's a situation that is arising with one, what would you call it, NFC contender?
Oh, certainly.
Not certainly. A lot. Listen, you seem to be entrenched in your position that it was the Rams and everybody else in the NFC.
That's fair, but Aaron Rodgers on the roster makes them a contender.
Okay, so Aaron Rodgers is having problems with
Just like Tom Brady on the roster makes the Bucs a contender. Same logic.
Aaron Rodgers is having problems with his new wide receivers in Green Bay. He's not a happy camper. Because, Lucas, you and I were talking about this on the phone yesterday, and you said this was the first time in Rodgers' career where he's really had to go through it with a young group of skill players.
Yeah, it struck me because no Devontae Adams, obviously, in Green Bay. I believe he's been there since 2013, 2014, in that range. Before that, Jordy Nelson had been on that roster since 2008. Randall Cobb is in there for several years in the middle of that stretch. So it's the first time he's having to do what Ryan Tannehill's having to do in camp this year. There's a couple of guys that have played a lot of football, like Sammy Watkins and Alan Lazard, and he has that rapport with Robert Tonyan, but you've got Christian Watson in there, the rookie out of South Dakota State. I mean, it's an interesting little combo of wide receivers where you look at it and you're like, who in the world is wide receiver one? Is it Cobb by default?
Yeah. Well, since Aaron Rodgers literally moved mountains for them to trade back or trade again for Randall Cobb, again, holding the football, that would have been a sack on Malik Willis.
Well, he's not going down. Tannehill got sacked and went down, got clipped, and then got landed on. Someone landed on. You didn't see that play?
No, I missed it.
Tannehill held the ball too long in the pocket. Everybody was covered. It was 6-7 seconds in the pocket. He gets clipped at the knees, goes down, and one of his offensive linemen didn't get to see who it was, landed on his head. Like the opposite of what you want from your starter in a team drill during training camp.
So, with Aaron Rodgers and his new wide receivers, he is going through it a little bit. The headline that I read from Rob Demoski of ESPN, who covers the Packers for a long time, rip them one day, meet with them the next. Those were the last 2 days in the life of Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers as he's trying to get his young group of wide receivers ready for a rapidly approaching regular season. So he's been frustrated with the wide receivers. He has now asked them to report yesterday morning at 8:45 a.m. to the quarterback's room when they arrived. When they arrived, reportedly, they found all three quarterbacks plus the key members of the offensive coaching staff who work directly on the passing game in the room. So it's not like a vet hazing type of thing, like meet at the quarterback room at 8:45. We're not telling you anything.
Yeah, we're blindfolding you.
It's meet at the quarterback room at 8:45, and we're going to have all of your bosses.
Yeah,
there.
they're all standing at the front of the room, arms crossed, staring at him as they file in.
It's like walking into a board meeting that you didn't know was happening, and it's all about you. Like that has to be pretty. Whoa. What happened?
Sports News on 104.5 The Zone.
From Pro Football Talk, it's being rumored, and he says that his source says it is confirmed. It will be an 11-game, $5 million fine for Deshaun Watson.
11 games officially handed down in the appeal process for Deshaun Watson. That coming from Pro Football Talk just now. Thank you, Brett, for the breaking news update. I will go to Pro Football Talk's Twitter now and find the tweet. It is, so source says, according to Pro Football Talk, 11 games, the $5 million fine for Deshaun Watson. They've got proof of the ruling in an NFL email that I guess is about to be sent around to all of us. I'm going to keep my eyes updated on my inbox.
Well, that means that Deshaun Watson's debut in the 2022 season will be at home against these Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wait, but they play Houston in Week 12.
I don't know how that works with their bye week, but the 12th game of the season for the Cleveland Browns is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay. So so the league gets a longer suspension, but they don't get the result that they're looking for, which is to keep Watson off the field from starting in Houston.
No, you know what? I apologize. You're right. There is no bye week in there. It is in Houston, his debut. The Bucs game will be the final game.
He's debuting in Houston?
His debut will be in Houston. I had that wrong.
Oh, my God.
His final game, the final game of his suspension will be against the Bucs. So that'll be a Jacoby Brissett game, and then, yes, he will play in Houston for his first game back.
How could they let that happen?
Yeah, you couldn't make it a 12-game suspension.
I mean, on first reaction, like, why would he even want to play in that game? I don't understand. There's so many questions that I have around this situation. We can talk more about this coming up next. We're going to preview the Titans' offensive line. Taylor Lewan is going to be here in the next hour, and we'll have Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, towards the end of the show. So we'll react to the Deshaun Watson situation. 11 games, a $5 million fine in the appeal process from the NFL, and his first start against the Texans. Holy bleep. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
It is 11 a.m. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. It is day 2 of joint practice between Titans and Bucs in the lead-up to Saturday's preseason game at Nissan Stadium, and the Buck Reising Show is live from Titans training camp at St. Thomas Sports Park. Titans left tackle Taylor Lewan set to join the show after practice concludes. Rookie wide receiver Treylon Burks is back in pads, getting some limited work in. Caleb Farley with an interception in team drills just a few moments ago. Big breaking news in the NFL as the NFL and NFLPA have reportedly reached a settlement, and Deshaun Watson will be suspended 11 games and fined $5 million for violating the league's personal conduct policies. First game back on the road at the Houston Texans. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, welcome back live from Titans training camp. We got action on the field, kids. The fight starts right as the 11 o'clock hour begins. Go ahead and call it second down. Welcome in.
Been heated today.
It has been hot. 615-737-1045, how you jump in. We'd be happy to have you. 615-737-1045. Mike Vrabel going to start tossing people at the club here in a second. It's about to get real for some poor undrafted rookie free agent offensive lineman or whoever was in the middle of that. Not ideal. We're happy to have you here. We're here with you until 1 o'clock. Taylor Lewan is going to come cause problems on the radio show at some point in the next hour. That ought to be fun. Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, will also be here with us at our broadcast setup as well. So, Lucas, you relayed the information to people who may not have heard it in the last segment, the update from Pro Football Talk. So Jeff Simmons and Leonard Fournette.
And punches were thrown, according to Teron Davenport.
Oh, punches thrown, as a matter of fact. Okay, Jeff Simmons and
Always
Leonard
Big
Fournette
Jeff.
just got into a fight. Both started throwing punches. They're still trying to break it up as they are currently at midfield. So this may end. This is probably going to end practice for the day, I would imagine.
Still a giant huddle there.
Well, but they've split off into two huddles. You see the Bucs
Titans
behind
and
them?
Bucs, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be a wrap, kids. This circumstance and we'll see, okay, well, maybe how should we do this? Because I feel like I don't want to be in the middle of the Watson thing when Lewan comes over here because he's not going to make that any easier on me.
We'll do it now.
He's just not going to make it any easier.
We'll ask him about the fighting instead.
Oh, God. Well, I mean, what was the poll at Buck Reising that we had to nominate a Titan as the designated fighter?
Right, so it was if you could pick one Titans player to represent the Titans in a joint practice brawl, who would it be, Big Jeff or Jeffrey Simmons? Now, the correct answer obviously being neither. You do not want your two stars involved in that, but for the sake of conversation, 92% say, who do you think?
Oh, Jeff.
Yeah, it's Jeff. We'll update the polls at the end of the show.
92%?
That's a lot. It's a lot of people.
Oh, my God. That is a tremendous amount of people.
Yeah, Country WB says Jeff could probably take the entire team.
Well, I mean, he does talk more than any other individual other than our next guest, who is rapidly approaching, fortunately for everybody involved. So we will be joined by Lewan here in just a second, and we'll get into it about what happened on the practice field today and how he's getting through his recovery process. And then we'll preview the offensive line as we wrap up our show from training camp. So little congested in there. Lovely to see you.
Are we on right now?
I'm on right now. Yeah, you're not on yet, but do you need a second?
What are you sponsored by?
All of the things. Not that. Not what's in your mouth right now.
What are you sponsored by?
A lot of things. What do you want a list? I got a list here.
Yeah, give me a list.
Okay. What are you going to rip them? Don't lose me money.
I won't.
Okay. Turn
What
his
we got
microphone on. Hello, by the way.
Hello. How we doing, folks?
Lovely
Let's
to
see.
see you. Are you going to do an ad read?
No, who do we have? Is Buddy Allen a sponsor?
That's a sponsor.
What time is it right now? Oh, it's right time for Hi, this is Buck Reising here, back with the Buck Reising Show. We're sitting down here with Taylor Long, but before we do that, we want to let Buddy Allen know you're our guy. Anything he does, you should go to him for said situation. Here we go. How do we feel, Taylor? How do we feel the last 2 days?
BuddyAllenCarpet1.com.
Appreciate you having me on, Buck. Seriously, never listened once, but electrostatic to be here, man.
You
Seriously.
better be so damn good at football this year, or I am going to lose my mind.
Well, it's been a good camp so far.
You look sharp.
Yeah, but today, so for some reason, I was doing stupid things today. Like, we're going to call it what it is. There's a couple situations I was doing stuff, and I'm like, what am I doing?
All right,
here?
so for people who don't understand the mechanics of what it is that you do for a living, kind of explain, as we're not talking scheme here, but just technique-wise, what are you talking about?
Well, no, basically, if those of you wondering who I am, my name is Taylor Lewan, the left tackle of Tennessee Titans. I am a glorified security guard.
For who?
For Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry and company. But today, listen, we came out yesterday, I think, the Bucs, we obviously know how good of a team they are. Their defense is unbelievable. They're amazing in the run game. And so we knew we had our hands cut out for us. I think the first day the first period went really well. The second period, not so well. And then we finished up in a 2-minute. I thought that guys really came along and kept the energy going, which is outstanding for our offense to kind of see the adversity and work through said adversity. And then today, what I was talking about for me, I'm not going to get into minor details. I just know that I got to be better than what I was today because this team's counting on me for a while. Like you said, I don't want to make you look dumb.
Oh, make me look dumb.
Well,
you haven't played a game yet.
When you look as dumb as I've looked as dumb as you can look sometimes, man. So it don't really hurt as bad anymore.
No, it's
But
okay.
I'll tell you what, man, this has been it's been a great camp, and I appreciate you saying it's been a strong start, but. I'm not a finished product yet, and so that's the thing. We keep striving for that, and hopefully by week 1 we are that finished product.
I don't give you compliments a lot, but you look like you're having fun. You look like you're enjoying yourself.
Well, I'm in shape, man, and that's the most important thing. The best way to get through camp is to be able to run for a long period of time without getting tired. So I've been doing that. The conditioning part is.
Are we doing an actual football interview? What is happening?
Well,
here?
I don't know what you. Yeah, this is your show. And so,
sure, but this is so weird.
Here's
this is
what I
not
know.
how these dynamics typically go.
People are going to see 104.5 The Zone, the Buck Reising Show, and they're going to be like, "Oh my God, who's on today?" And they're going to be like, "Taylor on the who's Taylor on the Oh, that's the guy from Bustin' with the Boys." We should definitely listen because we have the best followers of all time.
Subscribe, rate, and review.
Subscribe and rate 5 stars. That was close, but no cigar there, Buck. But yes, we're doing a real football interview.
Okay.
Especially when you come off the field, and literally, I'm still in my pads right now. It's been a fun time. But why don't you go and ask me a question like a real interviewer does?
How big of a difference conditioning for you this year versus last year when you're coming through the ACL thing and you're focused on recovery and all these different things? It clearly feels like to me watching you it's made a difference.
Yeah, I think my headspace going into camp was to get my knee ready, get the strength of my knee ready, and make sure that my knee can fully flex and fully straighten and all the good things and run and cut. What I didn't really wasn't because of setbacks, I wasn't able to run until my wife's birthday is June 21st. I think 2 weeks later I ran.
Happy belated, Taylor.
Yeah. So I was literally the first week of July last year just starting to run on a field. Hey, we're going to do some striders for 40 yards. And I thought I'd be able to get in condition by then. Obviously, that wasn't the case. I was absolutely just gasping for air every single day. And so I knew that's been a weapon of mine for the last 9 years. Conditioning. Is being able to finish and go. And, I'm a fast twitch guy with good bend and a good understanding of the game. And so that coupled with conditioning, that's my recipe for success. And I just didn't have that main factor. That and just the mental fortitude of going through. I've never had a surgery before in my life.
That's the first time?
First time in my life. You better knock on some wood, boss. First time. I actually got my tonsils out when I was 21 years old. It was actually more miserable of a situation than the ACL. I lost like 25 pounds in 2 weeks, but it's been a long journey, man.
I need to get my tonsils.
There's no question. You could stand to lose a couple.
Although I will be honest with you, I was pissed when I got this shirt, the Sellout Willie shirt. For people who are watching on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, I was pissed because I washed it and it shrunk. Do you know how badly these things shrink when you wash them?
Yeah, it's 100%
I honestly
cotton.
look great in it, but this is not an ideal situation.
You have done a fantastic job of losing weight. I know Buck's been doing his whole 222 by camp.
Because I'm out here at practice every day and you're fat shaming me.
Well,
like I said, you better be good this year.
I'm not going to apologize. No,
I appreciate
if anything,
that.
I've saved you. I've saved your life.
Well, saved me from what? You thought I was going to have a coronary out
Who
of
knows,
last year?
dude? Who knows with you? I've seen what you've eaten sometimes. I've gone out.
You have not.
I'm no joking.
Where?
I was in a parking lot one time and I saw your car outside of a Chinese buffet and I walked in there.
A Chinese buffet?
And there was 3 plates and Buck was sitting by himself. he was just sitting by himself, and I go, woof, dude, that's tough to look at. And Buck just he moved his hand and said, get away from me.
I hate you
as he was
so
just
much.
taking in egg roll after egg roll. Dude,
Your
so
beautiful
much.
family is here.
Hi, Toots. This is my daughter, Willow, for all of
Hi,
you.
Willow. How are you?
Yeah. Almost done, sweetie.
Daddy's almost done.
Almost
Don't
done.
worry. How good did Dad do at practice today? Did you watch him?
Say he did okay at best.
She said he's scary. She
Yeah.
don't want to talk to me.
Yeah, she said, he's a big man, if you know what I mean. That's
It's just, I'm going to kick you in the knee.
No, in all,
I'm just going to kick you
in
the
all
knee.
seriousness, Buck, I know we're joking around quite a bit. We have established quite the friendship for the
Oh,
last couple of years.
what a joy it has been for me.
I think you look fantastic. You've done a great job. Just because you didn't hit your goal in
Who are you
August.
trying to, sweetheart?
I'm just, dude, you can't. It's all about breaking them down and building them up a touch so they kind of forget about it all, right?
Oh, so what am I being coached?
Yeah, treat them like dirt, stick to you like mud, bud. That's what the situation we're in right now.
This is like being a press conference with Vrabel. I got enough coaching from you people on a regular basis.
Right. Do you have any football questions before I go and see my beautiful family?
You have said that you don't typically like the joint training camp practices, but are you getting out of it what you want to right now?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's super important. Going into this training camp, I was understanding and being super diligent about what I need to work on and what's kind of in a good place.
Thank you for catching yourself, by the way.
Yeah,
Well done.
and then every day kind of working on hey, I need to use my hands better in this situation or that situation. So I got a lot out of these last two practices that maybe a few years ago, maybe I took for granted a little bit. So I think it was really good work.
Well, it's lovely to see you. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, man. Seriously, big
Always
hugs,
a
tiny
pleasure.
kisses. Thank you
Big
so
hugs,
much.
tiny kisses. Bussin' with the boys. Go check it out. Rate, review, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We will head over and do some press conferences. Mike Vrabel's going to be at the podium. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. I don't know if it's going to be as good as Taylor's, but let me tell you about Buddy Allen Carpet One. That's the place that you go for your home renovations. If you need new carpet, new flooring in your home, if you've been dealing with carpet, you want some hardwood, if you've got hardwood now and you want to change things up, Buddy Allen Carpet One is the spot. Their storefront in Donaldson. You can go check out any of their inventory, and they'll get you right because they're going to work with you from start to finish once you go through that process. It's a locally owned and operated company that prides itself on their outstanding customer service. BuddyAllenCarpet1.com, that's where you go.
Temperatures are high and tempers were flaring today at joint practice between the Titans and Buccaneers at St. Thomas Sports Park. Welcome back to the Buck Reising Show, powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com. I'm Lucas Panzica, joined now by Will Bowling. The next time these two teams will see each other, it will be in a preseason game environment, which means it is the return of Titans Ticket Thursday. Be caller number 5 right now for your chance to win tickets to see your Tennessee Titans host the Buccaneers this Saturday at Nissan Stadium. 615-737-1045. Caller 5 will go watch Titans and Bucs this Saturday. And I wonder if there will be any scuffles like there were today, Will Bowling. Things got heated out there. Welcome in.
It did. Thank you. Good to see you. I know SummerSlam was like a couple weeks ago. I'm not a big wrestling guy. Might be SummerSlam 2. Going on Saturday night in Nissan Stadium. Look,
it's too bad Ric Flair wasn't here today.
Woo, that's true. I think we expected that once practice was so even keel and calm yesterday, other than Jeffrey Simmons kind of acting a fool whenever he was making plays, which was a lot yesterday, that today was going to be turned up a little bit and was going to be a little bit feistier. And that was definitely the case. Saw Jordan Roos and Taylor Lewan kind of mixing it up a little bit. And then at the end, really the big scuffle started with Jeffrey Simmons and Leonard Fournette. So we all earned our fight at training camp merit badges today. You can't have a training camp without it. It has now officially happened. Football can officially commence in a couple of weeks because a couple of guys in the heat started shoving each other after the whistle. I have not felt this alive in quite some time.
Not as bad as what happened in New England with the Panthers and the Patriots. But, yeah, everything involved Jeffrey Simmons, it seemed, except for the one little bust-up with Jordan Roos, who got his helmet knocked off in a little shoving match. But other than that, it was all Big Jeff, which is not shocking after his attitude yesterday, which I guess is the attitude you want from your monster defensive tackle.
I would say so. I think the defenses as a whole corrected back to the mean a little bit today. Titans defense was really good yesterday. A couple of interceptions of Blaine Gabbert, of Kyle Trask. Titans defense not as good today early. Gets better in situational periods here at the end in 2-minute drill. Caleb Farley with an interception in 2-minute drill to close out the Buccaneers ones who were unable to get points on their 2-minute drive. But none of the offenses were able to get in the end zone on those 2-minute drives. That drill was really slanted towards defense, to be fair, to those units. They had 50 seconds. They had, 50 yards to travel, and I think just one timeout. But it was not needing a field goal this time. They needed a touchdown. So a lot of situational stuff, a lot of ones versus ones today, twos versus twos. But from all accounts, from what I saw and from what others saw that were here as well, Malik Willis had one of his best days.
Malik Willis did have one of his best days. I thought he had the best throw that he's had in team drills throughout training camp that I've seen with my own eyes, fitting it into a tight window for Chigakonkwo. I believe the ball was snapped from the 10-yard line, so in the red zone, and Malik Willis showing some zip on that ball. But he just looked composed in individual drills, warm-ups. You didn't have any deer in headlights moments, it felt like today.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think things started to slow down a little bit for him, thought process-wise, and reads down the field once the Titans got into situational periods there at the end. And he did have one pretty nice throw as he was rolling out to his left, used that little sidearm, changing the arm slot like he did against Baltimore, just kind of shoveled it to Reising McMath, who was open, did a good job in coming back to the quarterback and finding a pocket of space within the secondary, made a catch and was off to the races. They blew it dead. Mike Vrabel made a point to bring the play back to where it started and say, no, Malik, you're not doing this. You're standing in the pocket. You're putting your foot in the ground. You're delivering. So hearing a lot of the accounts of what you're going to hear as a fan today, you're going to hear a lot of, towards the end, Malik Willis isn't getting rid of the ball. He's almost throwing interceptions. That's because the Titans would rather him throw an interception than run and scramble for 8 yards right now. They want to know what they have at the 2s and 3s at the wide receiver position, because at this point, as Malik Willis continues to mature, as he continues to get more reps, wide receivers are obviously still battling for spots too. The plus side of giving Logan Woodside those reps is you have a better chance of him releasing the football and showing you what you have at the wide receiver position. So Mike Vrabel being harder on Malik Willis getting rid of the football and throwing it is not just indicative of him wanting Willis to take the next step. It's out of necessity for knowing what he has at the wide receiver position, because there are guys in the 2s and the 3s that are quite frankly, just going to be pretty pissed off if Malik Willis doesn't give them an opportunity to compete and actually make a play.
Yeah, they don't have control over it.
Right.
And I think that was the case in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, 100% was. I mean, Treylon Burks, is catching heat from social media and from media like us for not having a catch.
Yeah, he was
in
labeled
reality,
inconsistent by Mike
Sure.
Vrabel, but you're right, he didn't have the opportunities that you would want.
And he was, but the guy is on the stat sheet as having a reception, probably if he shares more of the time with Logan Woodside.
Yeah.
Specifically. So I think that's where the Titans are at within that evaluation process. Of course, I'm sure you guys covered it. We covered it this morning, Ramon and I, at the end of our show, that Treylon Burks was back out here, did have the sleeve on his left leg, so working through that, worked through some individual periods, some he did not work through, and then was there holding his helmet on the sidelines during team drills. Didn't get out there, but was there active and appeared to be ready to go if he was needed to be ready. But coaching staff not taking that chance, likely the right decision, going into a maintenance day tomorrow and then game time on Saturday. I think at this point, his status for Saturday is certainly up in the air. I'm not sure it's worth it at this point to get him back out there. Let's see him next Saturday. Let's see him next weekend, hopefully with Ryan Tannehill against the Arizona Cardinals. I think that's going to be the realistic expectation at this point.
Yeah, they were very selective of what reps Treylon Burks got today. And as we wait for Mike Vrabel to step up to the podium, I do want to hear from the head coach after what happened on the practice field today. So as soon as he steps up there, we will go live to him.
He should be spicy.
Here at St. Thomas Sports Park. Yeah, I agree. Bud Dupree right in front of us, signing autographs, taking pictures with fans who were out in full force today to watch joint practice between Titans and Bucs as we broadcast live on 104.5 The Zone. Well, Mike Vrabel is up at the podium, so let's go live to the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
I don't have many more details other than a young man's not with us anymore. Got to know Dawson coming down here. Met his family out in the community, so our condolences to them.
Mike, switching gears, have you made a decision on who's starting at quarterback on Saturday night?
No, I'm going to try to digest this practice and make that decision.
Chance that maybe you want to look at Malik again and see how he
Sure,
handles it?
of course, absolutely. We went through with a plan last week, and went through a plan to say, hey, we're going to put you back out there in the second half. Like to see you execute some things. He didn't, and so we deferred to Logan. So we'll continue to give everybody here that's earned opportunities, and he absolutely has. And just want to digest this practice and figure out a plan, for the game.
With Dylan and Nicholas, each getting a day up top, do you think once you look at the film you'll have a chance to really differentiate them, or you suspect not yet?
Well, I don't think off of one day. But obviously this was another opportunity. I'll look and see how Nick performed as well as everybody else. Didn't get to see much other than the 2 minute.
What have you seen from Nick Westbrook in this camp? He's heading into year 3, and he's one of the more experienced receivers in this system now.
A lot of versatility, a lot of toughness. Can play different positions. Willing to go in there and block. Had some nice catches yesterday in a play pass stuff. 7-on-7, had a nice executed catch and run through some traffic on a keeper. Just a lot of consistency from Nick. I think seen a lot of growth. I think he's healthy. I think he's just developing, and he's got a lot more comfort, and also helps us on special teams.
Things you like from Mccourty after seeing him these last couple of days, going against different receivers than your own?
Yeah, Rodgers competitive. I think he's challenges. He's he's very coachable. He loves to be coached, and they may catch a couple on him, but he's going to keep competing, and he challenges, and comes up with a lot of ball production.
Taylor seemed to have a really big bounce-back day, and it sounded like he said he watched film, he knew what he did wrong, he came out and intent to set it straight. Did you see that?
Absolutely. From what I saw, I think he was, again, he comes in with a great attitude every single day. He's had a long rehab, and he spent a lot of time in this building in the off-season. And he wants to be good. He wants to help us. He wants to define a role for himself. And I think he was exhausted. I think he was excited about coming out here and practicing. And, early on in practice, he looked like he was worn out. And, we've talked about that to our entire team about making sure that, we're not so anxious about the practice or the game that's going to happen. we have to be able to stay neutral, stay in the moment, and then execute when the ball snaps. We have to save every ounce of energy that we have for the play.
What else you see, Mike, from your defense today?
I would say that the first 8 plays weren't very good. They ran it 8 straight times. I don't think it was, the run defense that we expect. But I think they settled down. I think they, did better in, in the red zone stuff. I thought it was much more competitive down there. But when they handed the ball off 8 straight plays, I didn't. That's not what I expect from our defense.
What has Chance Campbell done to maybe warrant more reps with that top group?
What are you referencing?
Chance Campbell is. I've just kind of seen him with the ones more. Seems to be kind of active. Just maybe how have you kind of seen him progress from the start?
I think some of that, he's improved. I think some of that's a product of some injuries, of some guys not being out there, guys working through some things. So I will say this, Ben, he's a young player that's been able to handle multiple positions. So that's kind of helped him. If an opportunity arises, he pops in there. So he's studied, he's learned multiple positions. And he tried to take advantage of his opportunities when he's been out there. Special teams, would try to probably be his primary role, but he is certainly, given himself a chance just by knowing a couple different positions. So, we can move guys around.
Especially well, Mike, in those tight spaces to kind of create a little separation for himself.
Well, he's quick, man. He goes rabbit hunting with a hammer. He certainly just is able to get in and out of cuts, man coverage. Ryan trusts him. He's able to change speeds and put his foot in the ground and redirect.
Tiger was running away from some people today. How's he developing in that third down kind of role?
Good. I wish I would have been able to see it. I'm going to have to go watch the tape, but that's great. Dontrell was a player that came in, we know his story, didn't have a job, came in, did everything that he could for us to learn quickly and find a role, and has developed, was a runner for us when we needed him to be. And, has really done a nice job in that third down role. He's trying to be involved as a personal protector on the punt team. That's something that he's really wants to try to earn. That's a job that he wants to earn and take pride in. So that's great to see.
Mike, why has the rep count decreased for Logan?
Because, I just think that we have to continue to develop Malik in this system. And we've had conversations with Logan about, his opportunity to compete, but I also feel like, we have to try to see, how quickly we can bring Malik along, and I think that would be the reason why.
What have you seen over the last couple of days that you hope will translate in Saturday?
In what regards? Are you talking anything specific, or just
anything that stand out to you positively?
I think we always would like to be able to run the football and marry our play passes. We hit a couple shots yesterday. I have no idea what it looked like today offensively. Defensively, we got our hands on a lot of footballs. We need to, disrupt the football more. Special teams, it took a step, I think, in a positive direction against the Ravens. It'll be critical against a big, fast unit like Tampa to try to build on that. Really just kind of what we would like to try to do each and every week.
Dylan or Nick or any of them are lunging when they're trying to block. What kind of position does that put?
Who did you reference?
Dylan, or really any of them. Dylan, Nick, the offensive lineman, when they kind of lunge when they're trying to block, what kind of position can that put?
In what blocking? Which blocking are you referencing? Is it a run? Is it a pass? Is it inside zone, outside zone?
Run specifically. If they kind of lunge on the initial block, and that kind of put them in a
well, no, I mean, we have to have a style. We have to run off the football. We have to be under control. We understand the movement. We need to redirect and try to latch on. But the defensive linemen are too good in this league, too powerful for us to kind of stand there and waddle off the ball. That's not what we teach. So there's a fine line between running off the ball and losing your balance, especially in some of these when they're moving.
Balance.
Come on, Kayla.
Thank you. With you having 2 joint practices this fall, anything you take from these 2 and maybe say, hey, we're going to switch things around in this next one coming up next week?
We are, yeah. Okay. We're going to split up for team against Arizona. Cliff and I have talked, and going to try to give this an idea. I love the one-on-ones. I love some of the 7-on-7 work, and especially in the red zone. Pass rush is good to be able to see a different style. But these guys go hard. You know, I mean, we practice. I appreciate the way they practice. I appreciate the intensity in which they practice. So I'm conscious of that. So we'll try to do a lot of those things. We'll split apart for some teamwork, whether we, have a show team or not, or whether we go against ourselves. And we're going to give that a try next week.
Any trending issues out of what the officials were calling?
No, I think they're trying to focus on the rules.
For you, though, were you offsides too much or false starting too much? Or
No, I mean, any penalties is something that we need to eliminate. We'll just try to look at it and make sure the players understand, what's going on. That's okay. Well, I think in that situation, if you take a sack in the first play, it's going to be next to impossible to win the game. I mean, we're going to bang a timeout, and now it's like you get tackled in bounds twice, pretty much the game's over. So, not good enough.
Too short on the last play there with no time on the clock. That was.
We were trying to get to the corner. And
Given your history and relationship, are you surprised Tom Brady's not out here?
I'm not sure what Tom's got going on.
Jeff was very dominant yesterday. He looked like he had another really solid day today. What are aspects of his game that you still want him to work on even when he's out here kind of wreaking havoc?
Just improve.
Like the intensity of the practices as a whole, and guys maybe keeping their composure until a little bit of a dust up at the end.
I think we should be able to not do dumb shit that hurts the team, and I would say that that's an example of that. You guys are all writing about what that is. That's what that would be.
Back at St. Thomas Sports Park, Mike Vrabel just finished speaking to the media.
There we go.
I'm hoping Brett Batchelor was able to dump that from the Titans head coach.
Mike
But
Vrabel not knowing that he needs to be adhering to the FCC as he is talking to the media.
last time, ironically, he said those exact words, doing dumb bleep to hurt the team. It was about Julio Jones, who is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
Full circle. Who'd have thought? Not me.
For a penalty Julio committed against the Arizona Cardinals, who will be here next week.
That's a training camp inception.
Good stuff. Lucas Panzico, Will Bowling with you here as practice has concluded. So what's most – I'll say what was most interesting for me there, and then you tell me yours, Will. But for me, it's his answer about less reps for Logan Woodside and focusing on the development of Malik Willis. And you see that, and you say, Willis, he's running with the twos.
Yeah.
But I think you can pump your brakes on it a little bit because they just want to learn more.
Well, that doesn't really surprise me, though.
No.
I mean, I feel like that's what we all knew, that Malik Willis has the higher ceiling and has a future within this offense, possibly as quarterback 1 in 2 years. I think no sooner than 2 years. I think 2024 would be the earliest that Malik Willis would be in as the starting quarterback. And in order to do that, he's going to have to get more of those reps, and he's going to have to simulate being the guy as much as possible. For me, the thing that sticks out is the bounce back day for Caleb Farley. A little bit of kind of up and down from him going into the final situational period and the team period, and then once he gets to that point, has the interception, finishes off practice really well on Blaine Gabbert on the ones for Tampa Bay, obviously outside of most of their receivers, their starting quarterback, and half their offensive line. So we talked about that yesterday, that you really can't completely evaluate this Titans defense against such a shorthanded Bucs side right now. But that being said, it is positive to me to hear Mike Vrabel happier with what he saw from Caleb Farley, which tells me that he was watching the defense a bit more closely today, that he's willing to offer that observation immediately. He so often waits to see the film and make an evaluation later on. If he's offering that up immediately off the field, I think that bodes well for the day that Caleb Farley had.
Talk about the day that Kyle Phillips had, along with another Titans player on offense that got the ball in his hands a good bit today that Mike Vrabel talked about. The Buck Reising Show continues live from Titans training camp at St. Thomas Sports Park.
Wait, is it over?
On 104.5 The Zone.
Damn it.
Go home.
This is the most active time of year, and you need to be up and moving. If you've been dealing with nagging joint pain, there is no reason to. The regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can help get you right. They are the best in the industry, leaders as a matter of fact, and they will get you up and moving again, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue with no drugs, no steroids, and no surgery. The old remedies for pain are not the only remedies. You need to learn more about how regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics can change your life. Make this summer the last that you suffer from chronic joint pain. It's exciting, new, and natural ways to deal with joint pain. No side effects and no downtime. So call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Welcome back. Live from St. Thomas Sports Park, 104.5 The Zone. Buck Reising here with you. Hanging out. We got all kinds of people on the field. You see Jeff Fisher down there with Coach Mac?
Yeah, he's chopping it up with Mark Mariani, Rhett Bryan over there.
I wonder what that dynamic is like.
Mac and Fish?
No, Fisher and the organization.
Ah.
That seems like it would be, I don't know.
I mean, they brought him in and honored him when they did the Steve McNair, Eddie George stuff. I think it's fine.
It's always a weird dynamic.
He's here.
With stuff like, sure enough. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, there are certain circumstances that happen to all of us, but for this particular situation, I'm sure it's good for a lot of people to see Jeff. Mike Keith coming over to the table here in just a little bit as well. Look forward to chopping it up with the voice of the Titans momentarily. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in if you want to. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Do you want to sit?
Do you want to sit?
What is better for you?
We'll stand.
Okay. I like to stand. Thank you.
for our Zone TV audience. Some of the quotes coming out of this Watson stuff are insane.
Dog, I just talked to Diana about this stuff. It's wild. Wild what's happening because she's on television right now talking about this.
Yeah.
She said that the quotes that she was tweeting.
Well, an 11-game suspension, $5 million fine.
Reset, please.
Returning week 13 at the Houston Texans, which I saw somebody point out on social media. That is an odd number, 11 games to set up a return to Houston where you feel like an even 12, which has been talked about. Right, that number has been floated out there a lot.
Yeah, no, that was what the league wanted 12 minimum because of Houston.
That would make more sense.
Can I just? Did you guys talk about this while I was gone, or was it just press conference?
No, we talked.
All right, just give me a second, okay? Because Lawan came over here, and that was not the time to do the Watson thing, but now we have the time to do the Watson thing. How could they make it worse? They've made it worse. I understand that there are 5 more games in the suspension. I understand that this. I mean, look at reading Diana's quote. This is crazy. The signing of this settlement only means Watson is ending the legal process and has nothing to do with an admission of guilt. Those close to him share with me today he regrets putting himself in the position. This isn't an admission or an apology to the woman involved. Man, bleep you.
And at a press conference.
Are you kidding me?
Deshaun Watson, because he did apologize, right, in a little feature with CBS Sports before the preseason
No,
game.
it wasn't CBS. That's Aditi works for their broadcast now.
Okay.
She works for the Browns.
Well, Deshaun Watson is conducting a presser right now. It might have just wrapped up. But he was asked, okay, why are you apologizing then? Why did you apologize on that broadcast, in that interview? He said, quote, for everyone that was affected by this situation, there were a lot of people that were triggered.
I have never seen a situation. I mean, I was talking about this on the Primetime show last night because I'm watching the Manti Te'o documentary on Netflix, and I'm thinking about like sports scandals in my lifetime because to relive the Manti thing, you need to watch this.
Yeah, I will.
We
I'll
need
watch
to talk
it tonight.
about this at some point on the air because that bleep is wild.
Yeah,
but the Watson thing is unlike anything that I've seen or covered in my lifetime because of how poorly he has handled the situation from start to finish, and yet is going to be getting ultimately what he wants, which is on the field and not having to sit out for another year with another team. It may have been uncomfy to get there. The way that he I don't want to say the way that he jettisoned himself from the Texans obviously was not an ideal situation for a variety of different people, but my God, do I not have any respect for this dude.
Well, and also required to undergo, as the NFL's official settlement has been put out there, required to undergo a behavioral health evaluation and follow a treatment program. And, of course, we know that he is only allowed to use team massage therapy.
It's just fluff at this point. Because the one thing that they had to avoid in all of this, yes, get more games, whatever, but do not let the first time that he takes the field for the Cleveland Browns be in Houston. It's just such an easy thing to avoid, it would seem. Now, again, I understand that there is a bit of ignorance on my part because I'm not in these meetings. I'm not in the appeal hearings. I'm not in all of these situations where these decisions are ultimately being made. But also, I can be pissed about it because it's trash. It's utterly trash, the way that they've handled this situation. And for them to make it feel worse than the initial 6-game suspension, I mean, it's laughable that he is going to start his first game in Houston That's offensive.
Well, it's so conflicting, the things that he's saying, because he put out an official statement via the Browns that he most certainly did not write.
I don't care what he has to say anymore.
But it matters because we're talking about it.
Yeah,
and
right.
here's the statement from the Browns.
I'm not mad at you.
I'm grateful that the disciplinary process has ended and extremely appreciative of the tremendous support I have received throughout my short time with the Browns organization. I apologize once again for any pain the situation has caused. I take accountability for the decisions I made. My focus going forward is working on to become the best version of myself on and off the field, yada, yada, yada. I'm excited about what the future holds. And then during his press conference, quote, I never assaulted or disrespected anyone, but I have to push forward with my life and career.
And some people are triggered. Just don't say that.
But the statement is apologizing for decisions he made. I don't know what those decisions he's apologizing for are if he's saying that he did nothing wrong. It is just a complete cluster, a complete mess. And Week 13, unfortunately, is going to be must-see TV when Deshaun Watson goes to Houston.
We're all going to watch like the league wins with this. That's what stinks. Like they're going to get rewarded for this. If it is, I don't know how early they flex NFL games, but would the correct decision not be to flex that, even if they stink?
The Texans
and the Browns. They may suck by the time he gets on the field.
You're right. They could. I don't know what the record.
They may both be they may both be 3-8 at the time that they come into that game, and it's still going to be must-see television. It is infuriating to me that the league is going. I mean, it's that the league gets rewarded, that he gets rewarded after the independent investigation found that he did this in at least 5 cases. I don't care if it's 24, 66, 30, however many different numbers we've seen different entities settle. And I'm sorry I'm yelling at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm very upset.
You're
about
yelling
this.
towards me.
In your general direction. I feel like I got to say that as I continue to go on and interrupt you as you try to read me statements that are, of course, hugely relevant to this conversation. It makes me sick to my stomach when stuff like this happens. For the people who are on the other side of this, who are looking around, especially the people in Houston, who are the affected parties, and who are looking around and saying, this one, for what? For him to be able to come back here and play football?
Yeah.
Against the team that he just outright sat out and against in a city where he has clearly wronged at least 5 proven individual cases.
And the team that enabled him with NDAs and providing a location for these things to take place.
It's going to be the best number that a Texans or Browns game does all year.
Yeah.
And that's like, because I'm frustrated with it. I don't know how football fans feel about it. If you want to react to this, you're of course more than welcome. It just, if for no other reason to break up my whining about it. 615-737-1045.
Mike Vrabel did have some interesting things to say.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Vrabel, and we still haven't talked about the offensive line situation because I don't think Dylan Radins is a starting offensive lineman in football. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
It is 11:58. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The final day of joint practice between Titans and Bucs has concluded. Up next, preseason game number 2 at Nissan Stadium Saturday between Titans and Buccaneers. And things got heated. Practice ended a little bit early with a couple of scuffles on the practice field as Mike Vrabel just finished speaking to media. The Buck Reising Show is live from St. Thomas Sports Park. Big breaking news in the NFL. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson will be suspended 11 games and fined $5 million for violating the league's personal conduct policy. His first game back, Week 13 at the Houston Texans. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 3, put them up, third down, here on 104.5 The Zone. Welcome in, welcome back. If you've been kicking it with us so far, we've had a very busy show. It's been wild, to be honest with you. There's a lot of moving parts. It's not done yet. We got one more hour to do. Mike Keith is going to be here in just about 20 minutes, so hang out if you want to hear some Titans practice observations from the voice of the Tennessee Titans. Of course, Titans Radio has the broadcast. 6 p.m. is kickoff on 104.5 The Zone this coming Saturday. Blaine, Mickey, and myself have you for pregame coverage. The Lee Company countdown to kickoff from, what is that, 3 to 5. 3 to 5. That sounds right. Yeah. An hour before kick. Kirby says yes. Kirby knows. Kirby's the one who told me we were doing pregame. I need to ask Kirby all of my managerial and administrative questions, I suppose. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. We'd love to have you. 615-737-1045 is how you do that. So the Watson thing kind of derailed stuff, and I've said my piece. I don't want to do – I mean, have we covered that at length?
We've covered it. 11-game suspension back Week 13 against Houston, and conflicting statements all around from Jimmy Haslam and Deshaun Watson.
So I think that the situation – for Watson, we'll keep you updated. Perhaps we'll call Dan Luss later in the week once we have more concrete situations for him to work off of, and we'll kind of flush it out from there. But in the meantime, it's just going to piss me off, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
And it was an interesting day of joint practice.
So let's, a lot of fights. A lot of fights on the practice field. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the offensive line group in particular. How do you feel about the right tackle spot right now?
This is something that I thought was going to be pretty cut and dry throughout camp. For better or for worse, I felt like Dylan Radins was the starter. Coach Mack said as much. We played the audio a couple weeks ago. Said Dylan Radins is your starter at right tackle. This is a legitimate competition. Before, it felt like just reps to bring NPF. I guess could we call him that now? Nicholas Petit-Frere.
You want to call him NPF?
Call him NPF from here on out.
I mean, I think as long as we say that the first time that we say no, we probably need to call him.
It felt like it was just to bring him along, but at this point, it feels like he has a real shot at this starting job.
All right. So I've been going back and forth on this a lot, and I felt that there was some good snaps for Nick Petit-Frere. It wasn't as clean as I thought it was on the second watch back through when I went back and reviewed tape, as I like to do on Mondays. But when I watched Dylan Radins, I saw bad snaps. And I asked Mike Vrabel about this, and I should have been more specific on the front end. But like when he run blocks, he lunges and he loses his balance. Like it's not just getting off the line of scrimmage, like he's overextending himself in ways that are putting him – and Petit-Frere did this in college, too. It's some of the mechanical stuff that they need to clean up. And when you're bigger than everybody and faster than everybody and more athletic than everybody, you can get away with it. But I've been undecided. Offensive line is the position more than any other. I have more questions than answers on week – this is day 15.
Mm-hmm.
Day 15 of training camp practice. So day 15, I've still got a lot of questions. And I ceased to have questions yesterday when I talked to Greg Cosell because we did – an episode of the Install. I'm like, Greg, kind of talk me off the ledge here about Radins. What am I missing something that is telling me that this guy can play at this level in a starting role. And Cosell, it would seem, agrees with my assessment.
Yeah, and again, it's what the tape shows. And Radin still has significant problems at the right tackle position in pass protection. He reaches, he lunges, and that causes balance and body control issues. I think it was on the first series where you saw that against the Ravens, where he reached and he lunged and he was beaten. Now, I don't think he was responsible for a sack or something of the sort, but I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at him. And he has really, really struggled with that. And as we speak today, Buck, he is not ready to be a starting right tackle. Whether that he gets better and better, I can't answer that. I'm sure the Titans can't answer that. They're working with him. That's what you do. But at this moment in time, you would not feel comfortable lining him up as your starting right tackle week 1.
He can't play. He can't play.
Yeah.
I watch this more and more, and like I said, I watched him. I watched the game back. I watched him specifically. I watched a couple of different players because I had a list of guys that Greg and I were going to talk about. So I want to be like, okay, third watch through, just Radins. What am I seeing? He can't play in this starting offensive line. He cannot. He can, and that's like, sure, it's not great if you're John Robinson and is a second-round pick and you need the guy to play. I don't know if he ends up working out at guard, if that's a position that they try to look at him, but I don't think he's the starter because I think that's Brewer's job, man.
Yeah.
That dude's not letting go of anything, and maybe he's small, but he's got the technical proficiency and he knows what they want to run, and he executes well. Radins does not. He can't start for them.
Yeah, with Brewer, it might be maybe he's physically overwhelmed on certain plays, right?
Fine, but that happens.
But this situation could have turned out to be a good problem or a bad problem, right? Like a good problem would be Dylan Radins is doing the job. He's reliable enough, but Nicholas Petit-Frere is making a surge. This rookie's developing very quickly, and he's challenging for it. That would be a good problem to have. But
he's not ready either, though.
Right, but what looks like is transpiring is it's not really there right now with Dylan Radins, so you're having to rely on creating competition from the rookie, and if he's not quite ready, he's not making that surge, you're in a tough spot. So it's looking like, the way I frame it, a bad problem versus what could be a good problem at that spot.
I think it's the first identifiable roster issue that I have seen, and I'm like, okay, that's bad. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't have that. Because, like, I've talked about David Quessenberry before, and David is a great story, but ultimately he could not play right tackle at a level that was sufficient for him to be a starter in the NFL. And he's back in Buffalo as a reserve player, and that's good on David. Continue to get work as you continue to keep your NFL career going. But as it relates to what they have been trying to chase since they let Jack Conklin walk, even with Dennis, who I like Dennis personally. Dennis and I have a good relationship. I don't think he was good enough to be like, okay, that's the starting right tackle. I don't think that Dennis was that guy.
Would have been better last season.
I agree with that assessment, but last year was the COVID cap, and we understand that the circumstances were different. Otherwise, they would have had a better tight end.
Would he be a better situation than what's going on right now?
I don't think so long term, not for the money, because at least those two are cost controlled. But I mean, I like Petit-Frere, and the kind of in fact. I should have asked Brett for this earlier, and I'm regretting that I didn't. The question that I asked Vrabel about lunging, because that was something that I saw Petit-Frere do in college that I did not see him do in Baltimore. And I had to get a little more specific with Mike because he asked inside zone.
Yeah, he
outside.
challenged you on it a little bit.
Well, it's fair, but
yeah.
And I should have said just run blocking out the gate to kind of alleviate that because I know that he's going to come back at me in that kind of way. But he understood what I was trying to say, I think, about balance and positioning as opposed to just explosiveness. I think he said they're not just going to waddle off the line. I get that. But, I'm looking at the things that can put the offensive lineman in compromising positions because what I'm watching from Radins is a compromised player, and what I'm watching from Petit-Frere looks a tad cleaned up. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Let's go to Sam in Murfreesboro up first on the show. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
It's been a fun day so far. We're having a great time.
Oh, yeah, it's been a great listen so far. I just kind of wanted to comment on Watson real quick. I know you don't want to talk about it too long. I think it's completely disgusting that the league is actually, going to continue to let him play through all of this. But imagine just the slurry and the bombardment that he is going to get when he walks into that stadium, Week 11 in Texas, and the fans just go absolutely nuts on him. If he got that chant, "You sick bleep" out in Cleveland, imagine what he's going to get, man, in Texas. But also, I want to know if there's anybody out there, any team that's kind of a sleeper this year that nobody's really talking about, that might kind of make a splash.
AFC, NFC, what do you mean, like specifically, Sam?
I'd say AFC.
An AFC sleeper. Thanks for the call, 615-737-1045. I don't know why it makes me laugh when I hear people's turn signals. I don't know why that is. It's just I always get a kick out of it. Anyway, I mean, we'll get back into the Titans stuff. You know, let's get back to the sleeper thing a little later on. I think I've got an AFC sleeper, but I want to have a little more information at my disposal before I give him a very important answer to that question. Jeff is in Cookeville up next. Hello, Jeff.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, buddy?
Not much. I just left the practice, and you can just go ahead and let Sam know that the Titans are the big sleeper this year. No one's talking about them, so I have a good feeling that we're going to make another strong run this year.
Okay, maybe that's that. I think that is a fair one.
But yeah, with that being said, first off, Taylor Lewan, he's such a genuine guy. Love that guy. But after leaving practice and everything, and some of my observation that I've seen, I'm really impressed with Kyle Phillips. Sure. Didn't see much in the preseason. I called in about it, said why he wasn't getting catches, but seeing him out there today, I really good. How do y'all feel about him being in the starting lineup, and what his predictions are this year?
He was really good today.
He's been good every day. I mean, he's just consistently good. Like, that's why he played 3 offensive snaps in the preseason. They know. They see the same stuff we do. You don't have to be any kind of the next coming of football genius to understand that Kyle Phillips is clearly proficient at what he does and also can be an above-average returner if you put him in these circumstances, as he kind of learns the nuances and the blocking structures and how they want their thing executed versus UCLA.
But today felt a little different because it's 11 on 11. It's team drills against the Bucs. You see one out route to the right sideline for a first down to Phillips. Next play, an out route to the left sideline for a first down for Phillips. They're getting that timing down against an opposing defense, something that they haven't been able to do throughout camp. So today felt like sort of another step in the Kyle Phillips development throughout training camp, not just, oh, man, look at him in that drill. Oh, man, he toasted Logan Ryan in a one-on-one, right? Like, look at his feet on the ladder drills. I felt like you saw a more tangible connection between Tannehill and Phillips today.
Well, we can talk about this with Mike Keith in a little more detail. We're also going to let you hear from Coach Mike Vrabel in just a bit. In fact, we'll do that while Mike's here with us. I think that'd be good to have the voice that you know, the voice that you love on Titans Radio, react to some of the things that he's seen and what the head coach had to say. Let's squeeze one more phone call in before we do. Rick is in Hendersonville up next. Hello, Rick.
Hey, guys. This is going to be real quick, and it's a question. How many defensive ball players do you think will be wanting to show Deshaun Watson their version of a real massage?
Thank you for the call, Rick. Oh, here's my thing, okay? I've actually talked to players about this, like not just like locally, but just guys I know around the league. Like, what do you do if that guy's in your locker room? And basically the reaction that I've gotten from players is like, yeah, you live with a lot of dudes who have done some weird stuff in their lives, but this guy's clearly a pervert. Like, that's basically the consensus. Like, dude's a pervert, but he can play, like you find ways to make it work in the locker room. Like the Joel Bitonio thing is laughable, where he's saying it just makes us feel like Cleveland versus the world. Yes, it is indeed the Cleveland Browns versus the world when it comes to sexual assault and predatory behavior. You are correct, you idiot. But I think for the most part, players are just kind of like, yeah, there's some, every once in a while there's a bad dude in the locker room.
Well, but I don't think Rick's necessarily asking about his teammates. Like, his teammates are there to do a job, and they're going to try to win football games because that's their livelihood,
Understood.
No matter who's in the locker room. I mean, he's talking about, Titans don't play the Browns this year, but if Jeffrey Simmons is lining up, and if that gives any extra motivation, right, as if he needs it.
I really, but I'm running it through this prism because I don't think it does. I don't remember a bunch of dudes diving at Greg Hardy's knee because he beat up his girlfriend
at the end of the day,
on a bed full of assault rifles.
They're just ball players.
They're just, can he do his job? Can I trust him to do his job? Okay, I don't have to deal with him outside of that.
Yeah.
But for this 5 seconds of football, can I trust him that he's going to execute his block or cover up the linebacker or whatever the case is going to be?
They're going to be trying to chop his head off regardless of his issues in the past.
Indeed.
So.
Well, we'll talk more about what we saw at practice today, some joint training camp work with Mike Keith, voice of the Titans. He's next. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Don't let the summer get you down if that is something that has started to annoy you. Don't let a broken down or older HVAC unit cause you problems. I've got the company that can handle all of your HVAC needs. That's my friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They have been in business in Middle Tennessee as a family-owned and operated company for nearly 20 years and priding themselves on exceptional customer service. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is the place that you go if you are dealing with a situation like I did. I'm one of their customers, not just because we work with them on the show, but because I had an emergency situation. Preseason game last year, my upstairs HVAC unit went out. I was about to leave for a couple of days. They were there within the hour and made sure to get me right before I had to go on my road trip. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, the best in the business. 2 locations to serve you, Columbia and Lyles, and available anytime at springhillac.com.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Sure is. Operations always clean around here. Welcome back to the show. We are always thrilled to be joined by the voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. Titans Radio on the call. Coverage will begin at 5 p.m. on Saturday with Titans Countdown and the kickoff at 6 against Tampa. What's up, Mike?
Practice.
Yes.
Practice. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice.
We're literally talking about practice.
Yeah, sometimes it works.
Yes.
Did you learn anything that you didn't previously know about this football team watching 2 days against the Bucs?
No.
Okay.
I mean, and I think in watching the Bucs too, they're a lot the same team. Obviously, Brady's not here. Mike Evans is not here. Russell Gage is not here. Several of their best players are not taking part. But in watching these guys work and how they go about it, there was a fracas right at the end of practice. But otherwise, it was clean. It was good work. I thought, the Titans won some and the Bucs won some, and I'm sure there were a lot of corrections to be made. I did see some guys show some improvement. I thought Caleb Farley might have had his best day today in all of camp.
Our visibility is not great when,
Right.
obviously, it's lovely to see fans here, and when the Giants get in front of you, you have to kind of make sure that you're seeing what you think you saw. But I just see these long arms, Mike, on that Farley interception come up out of the visibility line and snatch this ball out of the air. And I thought for sure that was Caleb, and it's just something, especially coming off yesterday where Mike was asked about it. He's like, yeah, on first glance, probably not his best day. I'm sure they saw more on tape, as we all did, kind of working through those individual drills. But he is such a fun player to watch, and it's good to see him stacking those days and learning how to play this position with more nuance.
When we see him do his thing, he can be a dominant player. There was about a 5-minute stretch where he made 3, maybe 4 plays that were dominant defensive back plays. And you're saying that's it. That's why you drafted him. That's what you're looking for, batting a ball away in the end zone, cutting off a receiver to knock a pass down, intercepting a pass. Those are the sorts of things that you're hoping he brings. And as his confidence grows, you feel like he'll be able to do more and more of that.
It was interesting to watch him in the Baltimore game because you could tell that he's still kind of feeling things out with how comfortable he is with the knee. There was a couple of really good snaps, some where he was kind of backed off or kind of stutter-stepped as he's working his feet back under him. And I know that their plan for each individual is different, and they're going to do the things that they feel are necessary for the players on the field. But I want to see him take as many reps as humanly possible to get him up to that spot where he's playing with the kind of confidence on a consistent basis.
And I think that's the plan. You think about him, he has not played a lot of football since the end of 2019.
No.
He has not played very much football in 3 years. So
he hasn't played that much corner.
Right. He hadn't played that much corner, period.
That's what I'm saying.
I think you're going to see him get a lot of reps. You certainly saw them in the team work against the Bucs the last 2 days. I think they're going to continue to try to work him in to give him more confidence, to give him more feel for the game so that we can potentially see more moments like what we did in the end periods of practice.
Mike Keith here with us at training camp, as always presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, as is the official Titans podcast, the Titans Amy and Coach Mac podcast. So many things made possible by the great people at Farm Bureau Health Plans, like an extra set of pads since 1947. They've got Tennesseans covered. The offensive line situation, we played a Greg Cosell clip earlier about Raiden's not being ready to start at right tackle just yet. And Greg's just watching what he can in the preseason and basing his analysis off that. I think that neither him or Petit Frere are definitively in a spot where you look at that guy and say, that's the dude. But as it relates to Raiden's, when you're getting ready for these games, when you're watching these things, I don't necessarily know what your process is when it comes to those individuals. But for you, what do you see from him this year?
Doing well in run blocking. I think his run blocking is outstanding. He's having some challenges in terms of pass blocking and getting set and being able to make sure that you get hands on the rusher. And we've seen him a lot against Harold Landry. We've seen him win some in the one-on-ones. We've seen him lose some. That's the area where he's got to play more naturally and not like oh, they coach me to put my hands here, and now I need to move this way. And that's the part of it, is that you translate, you hope, all the good things they give you in practice, and you're able to go fast.
Yeah.
And when you play Harold Landry, you better go fast. And when you play that type of player in the league, you better go fast. He's aggressive. He's smart. Again, the run blocking part, where you know where you're going, where you're delivering the blow more than you're reacting, that's where he seems better right now. And he's got to continue to harness that pass protection part of it a little more. But I think we've seen progress. I think he's had a good camp. And I'll say again, Petit Frere has been a guy who is getting more attention in this, not because Radens has or hasn't, but just because Nick is playing well.
He's earning the reps.
He's earning the reps, and that's what you're going to continue to see. And, the question I continue to have, especially with Nate Davis, missing a little time, is do you say at some point that they're two of your best five?
Yeah, that's kind of the question that we were talking about earlier. And with Brewer, though, they love Aaron Brewer.
They love Brewer
so much. And I understand why, at some point he may get physically manhandled because there are giant rage monsters playing on a defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens. I've seen Lawan get overwhelmed. I've seen Nate Davis get overwhelmed. It happens in the league. But if he can do everything else, if the recognition is there, if the execution is there, he understands what they need to be in and how to put them in the best possible positions, I just don't see how you take that guy off the field.
Well, there's trust.
Yeah.
And that's the part of it, is they know he's going to do the right things. They know he's going to physically battle. He's not going to whiff. And when you start at that point and then go forward, that he wins more than he loses. And in this camp, he's been winning a lot more than he's lost. He's played over the last couple of years, and you've been shocked because it's like, wow, boy, they're giving him a lot of trust. Well, he's earned that, and he's gotten better physically. He's a bigger guy than he once was. He's a stronger guy than he once was, and I think it's going to be hard to get him out of the lineup.
It certainly does seem that way. Mike Keith here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So we're going to do kind of like a checklist for some of the guys that we're looking to see who played in the first preseason game and progressions that we'd like to see in the second game tomorrow, or on Saturday, rather. But for you, as you kind of look at some of the guys who are going to play substantial snaps for this team, the one that I'm most excited to see that we haven't got a sample size yet is Roger McCreary in live game action.
Right.
Because he's just been such a consistently good player, whether it's 1-on-1s, 11-on-11, the 7-on-7 drills. He continues to pop. He's going to play in this defense somehow, some way. I just don't necessarily know where it is yet.
He's incredibly annoying. And that is exactly
that's a big deal for a corner.
That's what you want to be as a corner, is he's in your hip pocket all of the time. He makes a lot of plays. He gets his hands on balls. When he loses, he comes right back. He won't go away. You can, if he were a fighter, you could knock him down and he gets right back up, and it's like you can't break me.
Yeah.
And that's the way McCreary plays. And I think a lot of that comes from his background in Mobile and how he had to basically earn that scholarship at Auburn, and then playing against the receivers he did in the SEC, becoming an All-America selection. I mean, this is what his calling card is. I've told the story more than once, and I apologize for being repetitive, but when I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl, he was actually the first guy I interviewed at the start of Senior Bowl week, and I said, the Titans are going to draft him. He is so John Robinson, Mike Vrabel. And, I mean, there was never any doubt in my mind that they were going to find a way to end up with this guy. He was the most Titans player of anybody at the Senior Bowl, because of what his makeup is. You talk about effort and finish and toughness and dependability.
All the things that are circled and red out here on the field.
Detailed.
In case you forget, Mike, full tilt to the tackle.
Yeah, well, but that's him.
Yeah.
He hits. Not every corner hits.
Right.
Some come up there and, they're looking to grab your shoelaces and tie them together. This is a guy, he's willing to put a pop on somebody. And that part of it is really kind of what his makeup is. Titans fans, when they see him, are going to love him. I mean, he is going to be a favorite. There's a little Malcolm Butler. There's a little Cortland Finnegan. there are all kinds of things sort of sprinkled into his game.
What did Mike used to call Butler? Street rat?
Yes.
Street rat. That's the same kind of energy that it seems that
right.
Roger McCreary embodies.
Well, and you put him with Fulton and you put him with Farley, And, I mean, you're talking about some guys with some speed, all of whom will tackle.
Yeah.
And then you've got the two safeties. I mean, that's a pretty athletic five in the secondary. Now, McCurry's got to earn a spot over Molden and, work his way in there. But, I mean, I think it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. It's just like Kyle Phillips. I think that's going to be a guy it's going to be hard to keep off the field.
Yeah, I think fans get caught up a lot in starters, and it, it's such a fluid term because it's just physically the players that trot out onto the field for the first offensive snap and the first defensive snap is how they chart the starters. But like with Molden and McCreary, I think a lot of people kind of defaulted because they physically have the same kind of body type.
Right.
Okay, if Molden's missing time, then Rodgers is going to get some additional play in the slot. And maybe that ends up being the case, but I think it just depends on who the matchup is going to be for these guys because Molden does things differently than McCreary, but they both have a skill set that is valuable.
Well, like A.J. Moore, too.
Right.
I think there will be games where you will see A.J. Moore packages. Do I think you'll see it every week? Probably not, but there will be matchups. It's why you go out and get Lonnie Johnson off waivers. It's why you trade for Tyree Gillespie because you're saying – we can't have enough of these guys who can provide us advantages in matchups potentially, knowing all of the different teams that you will see during the course of the year. And, there are certain situations, and this comes, I think, directly from the Patriots training. I think people are always asking, what is it from Vrabel that where you see the Patriots? I think it's on defense in these packages is they will totally scheme a personnel package towards an opponent. They'll play almost a different defense.
Right.
And then the next week, that player who was involved might be inactive because somebody else has got a role. That's what they're looking to do. They want interchangeable. It's why those defensive linemen doing such a good job in different ways is a big deal, the interchangeability. Danico Autry is a perfect Titan because of that philosophy. You line him up at 1, at 3, at 5, at where he played outside linebacker.
Right.
So
sometimes he works with them at practice
right,
out here.
Sure. I mean that whole thing is, and Vrabel did that. Vrabel lined up at true defensive end. He lined up at outside linebacker. They would line him up inside. Bruschi did the same thing. McGinnis did the same thing. And I'll never forget watching them, and I'm like, what kind of defense is this?
Yeah. They're just out there.
Well, they just because they put people.
Right.
And they know in today's schemes, in particular because of quarterback mobility adding to it, you better be able to put a different personnel group. You don't line up 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers or 3 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers anymore. You're putting the 11 who fit the defense. On the flip side, it's why the Titans' multiplicity with their tight ends again will make them more dangerous.
That's the thing that I feel best about that I've seen
offensively.
Day 15, through 15 days of training camp work, like Hooper and Tannehill just vibe in ways that I think it makes you confident about whatever general concerns may be about offense and personnel changes and all these different things. That's the connection that you see him go to early if he's trying to get a drive going.
Sure.
That's what they did in the 2-minute yesterday where he hit him for 3 straight completions. It just seems so solid. It's not one of these Kittle, Gronk, Kelsey, game-breaking tight ends, but he's functional and he's efficient, and that's really just what I'm looking for.
He's open.
He's open.
That's the difference. The tight ends last year could not get open as a group as effectively as what we've seen Hooper already do, and the potential for a Okonkwo to be very much like a Jonnu Smith in terms of the versatility that he will bring. And I think that potentially will be a development during the year that you will see him as we get into November, December, and January be able to take an even bigger role as he figures out that spacing. It's interesting to watch Hooper because it's almost like in basketball, they traded for a forward who can get open on the block.
Yeah.
That guy knows how to cut off a pick. He knows how to run his angles, and he's going to be open every time. So Tannehill always has somewhere to go with the ball no matter what. Sometimes Austin Hooper will be the first option. Sometimes he'll be the 4th option. But he gets open. He's a big guy. He's an athletic guy. He comes from a very athletic family. And we understood in watching him, he had maybe the best game of his career against us in 2019 for the Falcons.
Cleveland. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that was pre.
He caught like 9 for 130,
That's right.
and he's got these massive hands, and he runs well, and he knows how to sort of ease himself away from the defender. You can leave him on the field too because he blocks, whereas Swaim is more blocker first, receiver if it's made for it. This is a guy who could catch 60 balls, and I don't think anybody would be shocked.
No, and that's going to, as you said, it's going to allow them to kind of get back to their, grassroots, whatever you want to call it, just a place where the personnel is more comfortable and vibes a little better based on what we saw them working with last year. Preseason, Mike Keith, voice of the Titans, obviously. You know the voice. He's here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Preseason's such a great time to listen to your guys' broadcast, I think, because I learned so much more about some of the dudes who I'm not necessarily as familiar with. It's a really cool time for you guys to be able to tell stories. And I know Rhett is out here just grinding, trying to find as many different things to put together for packages in pregame and as the broadcast progresses. Whose story has kind of interested you at this time of year? I'm sure there's several, but
because this is an intriguing group of undrafteds, and then Kyle Phillips is one you're saying, how did he last until the 5th round?
That's what I'm saying. Like, me and Mariani were talking about this earlier. It's not like he wasn't a highly touted recruit. It's not like he didn't play at a big program. Like, he's a player.
I tell my friends he was a 4-star recruit out of an area in California where they play good ball.
Yeah.
So it's like, and what he did at UCLA, that's not UC by the, Windy Beach or whatever. That's UCLA.
not California directional school X, Y,
right,
and Z.
yeah, who used to be in the Pac-12. Now they're in the Big Ten. But, it's real ball.
Yeah.
And what he did in a pro-style offense playing for Chip Kelly is there's an understanding of what to do. But the guy's got shake. And that's the part of it.
He shook the hell out of Logan Ryan.
Oh,
earlier.
listen.
Woo!
Well, he does it to a lot of people.
My goodness.
When you can move your body like he does and be able to cut at full speed. Some guys can give the shimmy, and they don't really fool anybody because by the time they make their move, they're having to almost stop, plant, and go. He never stops. And that's the part of it that is so fun to watch about what he does is he gets it. So you've added Hooper, and you've added a guy like Phillips who's going to play.
Yeah.
Dontrell Hilliard now can focus on being the third down back, the receiving back, which the Titans hadn't been really good at that spot in a long time.
They tried with Deion Lewis, but it never really materialized.
Listen, in 25 years, they've tried with a
lot of guys.
Robert Holcomb had some of that in the early 2000s, but that's been an area where we've never – they had John Simon at one point. Constantly we've tried to find that guy for 25 years, and we never have. I think he's there now.
Yeah, a lot of volume today.
Well, and he's a good player. He's certainly a little bigger than what he seems, and so he can run with some power. Has the breakaway speed like what we saw at New England where he had the 68-yard run for a touchdown. So all these extra sort of pieces, and then Robert Woods.
Yeah.
It's like you watch him and you're like, well, he's good.
He's a good player.
And why are you surprised? He's Bobby Trees. He's been a good player in this league for 8 years.
He also, but across the course of his career, Mike, like even at Buffalo, it just feels like he's an afterthought is not a fair assessment of what a 10-year, heading into year 10 veteran is, but it's always been second fiddle to Cooper Kupp, or there's always been X, Y, and Z, and then Robert Woods.
And I get it. He's played with some good players at different times. Buffalo wasn't very good when he was there.
Right.
And so he didn't get a lot of attention. And then he goes to the Rams, and, the Rams have had a lot of people. They have Cooper Kupp, who's blown up into this, superstar guy. But Cooper Kupp talks about him like he's Yoda.
Oh, that statement at the end after the trade happened.
Unbelievable.
I was blown away.
You very rarely hear that. The only question I think that most people have had is, what about his health?
Yeah.
And, looks pretty good so far and is really adding something. Westbrook Akine, I think, is getting some rub off that and learning some different things from him in different ways. Nick is having an excellent camp.
He looks strong.
He really is having an excellent camp. Caught several passes in red zone today for touchdowns. He's a player, obviously, too, that Tannehill has a lot of confidence in.
Indiana's finest, baby, Nick Westbrook-Akina. Mike, what's on the OTP coming up?
The OTP, which we'll have out later today, Jeff Fisher, who was here at practice today, Diana Rossini from ESPN, who was here at practice today, that and sort of our game preview for Saturday night. The official Titans podcast, better known as the OTP, TennesseeTitans.com, or anywhere you get your podcast.
That's right. Always presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. He's Mike Keith. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate you hanging out. All right, we'll wrap up the show coming up next. Did you know the cost to rebuild a home has increased by almost 50% since 2019? If something happened to your home, it's important to make sure that you can afford to rebuild. Most home insurance does not account for inflation, but with Country Financial, it can. Their additional replacement cost coverage will make sure that your home's full value is protected. As a homeowner, this was something that I absolutely needed to have, given the kind of natural disasters that we went through in my area of town. Country Financial provides insurance and financial services to help you prepare for the most important moments in life, even the ones you hope never happen. Find your local representative at countryfinancial.com. Welcome back, live from Titans training camp. That's not the SEC on CBS anymore, kids. Well, I guess for the next 2 years it might be. Oh, poor Lucas.
You know what? No, I'm not gonna let this horrid mistake by CBS not let me enjoy the last 2 years of the SEC on CBS. I'm still gonna get chill bumps when that first afternoon kickoff on CBS.
Who the hell calls them chill bumps?
I like to call them chill bumps.
Goosebumps. There's not a both Rich and Kirby looked at you like, the hell are you talking about?
They are called goosebumps.
That sounds like some kind of venereal disease.
Well,
chill bumps.
For me, it's
little
chill
old
bumps.
Southern ladies call them chill bumps.
Well, maybe I should course
Well,
correct.
little old Southern ladies agree with me that the Big Ten having this theme song is egregious.
A poll of 10 out of 10 sweet old Southern ladies shows that the Big Ten getting this music is trash.
Yeah, I think I'm looking for what's the first SEC matchup on CBS. I guess we don't know that yet. I imagine it could be Florida-Tennessee, actually, in Week 4 in Neyland Stadium, unless that's a primetime night game. I'm not sure.
Spicy. So I was talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to yesterday about trying to go to a Tennessee game this year. It's between Ball State or Alabama for me, because Ball State is a Thursday, which I could do. And Alabama is the Titans' bye week, which I could also do.
I think Alabama would be just a better day because you get the whole Saturday to tailgate.
Yeah, but if they get smoked, are people going to be miserable? I want to have fun.
I mean, sure, but what's more fun to watch Tennessee, Alabama, and at least the first quarter of an enjoyable rivalry with a bunch of NFL players, mostly on the Alabama side, or watch Tennessee smoke Ball State on a Thursday?
Oh, well, you know what? Here's the deciding factor, because there's 0% chance I'd make it probably even to halftime. I don't stay if I would not want to be there that
You're
long.
like the dad in the Geico commercial, so still planning to leave by the third quarter, right? Let's not talk about leaving before the game.
It's not Geico, but it kills me when they're talking about the parking lot. Let's talk about the game, not the parking situation in the parking lot.
Yeah,
it's
progressive. Did I say
Thank you.
Geico?
Thank you, free
Brett.
ads either way. But yes, that absolutely knocks me out. Before we do some polls and we do the silly stuff. We were sorry to see that Jason Martin is no longer doing the morning show. Jason, obviously a good friend of ours. We didn't want to go through the show and not acknowledge that situation. I haven't talked to him yet. I'm going to give him a call after the show and check in, but just wanted to say that we miss our guy around here, and that's unfortunately a part of the business that everybody deals with in some form or fashion.
Yeah, wishing J Mart the best
at some point. So let's not make that hugely inappropriate bet, Brett, by playing something like Borat next. Give me the polls.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. It's the segment where bias takes over and nuance goes to die. Now, here's your favorite Buck Reising Show correspondent, Lucas. Pan, make that poll Zika.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you as soon as it's manufactured. What is one word to describe how you feel when you hear the SEC on CBS theme used for Big Ten football? Kenneth says change.
That's pretty good.
Barrett says,
are we going to do better than that?
Barrett says betrayal. Eric says disgusted. Predaret5, an interesting Twitter name, says garbage. Beer rules forever says nauseous.
I just tweeted at the CBS account, you bastards, this morning when I saw them playing the music. It made me laugh out loud.
Who has more catches for the Titans in 2022, Austin Hooper or Traylon Burks? 60% say Hooper. Ben replies, says this is shocking.
No, 60 is low. I think that it's going to be clear, though. That dude's going to see volume. There's no volume in the Titans passing game, but if volume was to ever exist, it would be at the hands of Austin Hooper.
Who starts more games for the Titans this year, Dylan Radins or Nicholas Petit-Frere? 61% believe it's Dylan Radins.
Well, because I'm glad that we left it kind of all-encompassing, because I think he could still play some at guard at some point. I don't know. And injuries you can't predict, but I think if you were asking me who the starting right tackle is week 1, I think it's Petit Frere. I don't think that the other dude can play.
Who is wide receiver 1 in Green Bay? We have Alan Lazard, Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, or Amari Rodgers. 65% say it's Lazard. It's a pretty large margin. 14% say Watkins. Only 11% said Cobb. 10% say Rodgers, the East Tennessee product.
It's Cobb. It's Cobb because Aaron Rodgers traded for him. It's Cobb because he's the only one who has played with Aaron Rodgers before, and it's Cobb because I bet Cobb was not asked to be at this 8:45 a.m. meeting with all the Green Bay quarterbacks and the offensive coaching staff to just basically be like, hey, you guys are bleeping up.
No, well, he might have been there, but he would have been standing on Rodgers' side.
Yeah, he would have been on the. You're right. He would have been on the side of the coaching staff. Arms crossed when they all walk in.
Goody replied, said Robert Tonyan.
Yeah, that's probably good.
Christian Watson out of South Dakota State is going to have to make an impact for them as a rookie.
Isn't Tonyan coming off an ACL?
He did get hurt last year, I believe.
Okay. I don't think that's. I need to look into what his practice situation is because I haven't been tracking that closely. But I know that he missed a substantial amount of time last year.
It is the most interesting situation Aaron Rodgers has ever had around him in Green Bay.
It's certainly the most frustrating based on the way he's handling it.
Like if there was ever a time for him to retire, like this would have been the time. But he gets $50 million per year.
Sure.
Who would you pick to represent the Titans in a joint practice brawl?
Damn it, we didn't ask Lawan.
We did not. Oh, we did not. That's the one thing we did not ask was Lawan.
His
about
kids
fighting.
showed up, and I felt bad because then we're keeping I don't feel bad for him because whatever, bleep Taylor. But I felt bad when Talon, of course, and Willow, the younger of the Lawan daughters, walked up because then I was keeping Dad from
Well, 92% say Jeffrey Simmons, 8% say Derrick Henry. Didn't reach brawl status today.
Well, they don't want Derrick fighting because they want Derrick. Don't get near Derrick.
No.
Like nobody touch Derrick. Don't make Derrick fight.
Those are the polls.
All right, very good. That's the show. We got Coach Mack tomorrow. We got pregame for basically basically for the Titans' first home game of the year. Not basically, it is the Titans' first home game of the year. So make sure you're listening. I got one more primetime show tonight, and we are excited to do that for you. We'll be talking about this right tackle competition in a little more detail. What's on Blaine and Mickey today?
Blaine and Mickey talked to Chelsea Messenger for some betting advice, and they will recap.
How did you say that?
Chelsea Messenger.
It's not Chelsea?
It is Chelsea.
Okay.
That is her name. She's a local product, and you hear her on our airwaves.
What, is she getting drafted? A local product? What is that?
What? I'm a local product.
You're a local something. All right, let's wrap the show up. Appreciate you guys as always. Talk to you tomorrow at 10, if not on primetime tonight.